If you'd like to purchase Magic Online cards with event tickets while logged in on Magic Online, look at Mtgo Academy's selection by trading our official bot, Academy Sellbot. You can find it in the Magic Online trading area or add it to your buddy list.
Time for round 2. Playing first. And this hand, it's not amazing with Kira's Dismissal and Faded Infatuation in the starting hand. I'm gonna keep this still. I have a pretty good shot at drawing one of my 3 accelerants. My mana is perfect. And I do have pretty nice drops with the Kira's Dismissal maybe buying me some time as well. The one danger with this hand is drawing too many 4-drops with this starting hand, basically. Well, I can draw 2-drops. Well, not many 3-drops though. Okay, this 2-drop doesn't help at all. So now I want 3-drops or more land. Flashmat Seed is fine. Lands is also fine. I will probably just put Ordeal of Nylea on one of my creatures, depending on what my opponent has here. Okay, Blood Harpy is kind of unfortunate because it makes the Cloaked Siren worse. And that's where I draw Sedge Scorpion. Alright, so I think I need to run out this Siren. Maybe not. Sedge Scorpion blocks Flashmat Seed, whereas the Siren kind of only trades with the Blood Harpy. But then I want to play Ordeal of Nylea. So what I could do would be to pass, playing the Cloaked Siren, hoping that the Ordeal play works out, and then I drop the Sedge Scorpion. However, if I draw a land next turn, I will just want to cast Nessian Asp anyway, and then Cloaked Siren doesn't really do anything on this board. I'm going to play it defensively with Sedge Scorpion here. Of course, it would have been a lot better earlier, but that hopefully means that I get to block Flashmat Steed to stem the bleeding a little bit. And I'm okay. Well, that's so much for that plan. Basically spending 4 mana to do nothing here. Leafcrown Dryad is not exciting. I think I'm just gonna hold up the Siren now. It at least deals with the Harpy. And it can't get killed by Asphyxiate or something like that. At least my opponent also didn't do anything in his turn. But he does have all the removal. Still no land, okay. Yep. Both of these 5-drops would be so good. Do I need to Kira's Dismissal my own Leafcrown right now? I don't think so, because the Flashmat Seed will get tapped, so this actually saves me 2 damage. And I just have to hope that I get the Nessian Asp to resolve and to stay in play. Alright. Don't think I can afford to only play the Enthausa. I need to get a blocker for Blood Harpy into play. Okay, Doomwreak Giant is only a 4/6. I can live with that, and I have Kira's Dismissal now. Kira's Follower. That's not bad. It might actually allow me to attack with Nessian Asp in the future. I can play Enthausa here, but it's not really doing anything. The Doomwreak Giant, I think I can double block, and if my opponent plays an enchantment, I'm bouncing the Doomwreak Giant with Kira's Dismissal. So yeah, the follower looks pretty sweet. And I'm also going to put the Ordeal of Nylea onto Nessian Asp already. I don't have time to do that later on. Okay, well that's really bad for me. Yep, can't ever beat that. And a Griptide. So if I bounce the Doomwreak Giant, I only go down to 3. And I replay the Nessian Asp, so I'm technically alive. Yeah, this game really didn't go as planned. My opponent with the tempo in the beginning, and I didn't play anything for the first 3 turns. And now this development. Alright, Enthausa is still an option. The problem with Kira's Follower now is that Doomwake Giant is lethal, so I have to block it, and then I might be dead. Well, an attack with everything I can still chump block with Kira. So, with Kira's Follower. So I think the Kira's Follower is still the better choice, because if my opponent doesn't have a good attack, then I will have Fated Infatuation and maybe even the Monstrosity available. Okay, that worked out so far. Nature's Panoply. So, if I cast Enthausa here, then the Panoply is not going to do much. I can copy Nassian Ass, but that forces me to tap the Kira's Follower this turn already. It also still doesn't really give me a good way of dealing with the Pharika's Chosen, which I will probably have to block with Kira's Follower. Now, my opponent might just attack with everything and kill me, to be honest. Yeah, I have to cast Enthausa here just to have a blocker. Okay, pretty tight game. Maybe my opponent doesn't have anything here. Siren of the Fang Coast. Alright, alright. I will give you a 4/4. I'm on 3, so I'm still in this. I can now just say go and keep up both of my tricks here, or all of my tricks, that is. I think I'm forced to do that, otherwise I'm just pretty much dead to anything my opponent might have here. So let's see if my opponent dares to attack. No. Does play a creature though. I will just Monstrosity here. I do need my tricks to survive, but I can always cast them, and I can make a bunch of 2/2s with the help of Enthausa, while also copying Nassian Asp. So if my opponent isn't careful, I'm actually beating him pretty convincingly. Can't attack because of Pharika's Chosen, and I think it's correct to not play anything here. I could play Ravenous Lucocota, but then I lose the best part of the Enthausa trigger, which might not be the worst. I would want to keep open a forest to have the Panoply at least available. I would also want to keep up 2 islands for the Infatuation. And my opponent might get the idea that attacking with these 2 flyers is fine. If only the 2 flyers attack, then the Fated Infatuation is insane. I think I can risk this. I think this is not a problem. I would also love to scry with the Infatuation, but I think it's more important to have the theoretical combat trick, the surprise value. All my creatures have a nice toughness. Okay, no attacks. Cloaked Siren is also great. I still can't really attack with anything here, but Cloaked Siren might be a nice way to ambush a flyer as well. If my opponent is smart, he's probably holding back enchantments and will try to cast a lot of them in the same turn. So a 5/7, still not really great against Doomwake Giant, and Vortex Elemental is a card that does die very easily to the Doomwake Giant trigger. It would also be my way of dealing with it, so there's that to consider. If I attack with the Lucracota, I don't think that the Doomring Giant is daring to block. I think that Pharika's Chosen will just step in the way. Would be a way to get to start going on the offensive though. And I think I have to also cast the Vortex Elemental. I can't just sit here and do nothing. If I cast Vortex Elemental, then my opponent will most likely just kill all my creatures. Just play an enchantment. I think that he will have one. But that's still better than risking it the other way. I'm not sure how to go about things with the Freakus Chosen. It's kind of a difficult decision, I think. Do I want the Freakus Chosen to be gone? And am I willing to offer my 5/7 for it? So that I can start attacking maybe even? Would be an aggressive line. I don't have any other line though. No, I'm not doing that this turn. I'm just casting the Vortex Elemental. If the Vortex Elemental lives, I'm gonna try to snatch the Doombreak Giant with it. And if it dies to the Doombreak Giant's trigger, then it's also not the end of the world. I could actually put a +1/+1 counter on it, but that doesn't seem worth it. Erebus Emissary Hardcast, so that kills the Vortex Elemental. Yeah, I'm letting that resolve. I also didn't want to shuffle it back into my library because it's just not really good here. And still no attacks. Alright. I will play the Cloaked Siren. Golden Hind. Yeah, now the problems start. I can't really play the creatures that will just die to the Doombreak Giant's trigger. I'm casting the Fated Infiltration on Nessian Asp here as a way to generate some value and to get some scry triggers. If my opponent can bounce the Nessian Asp, then I would basically be dead anyway, so I would rather have a copy here. Soulrise Centaur seems pretty weak. Don't think that's what I need to win this game. And Sigil Starfish looks great, so I'm gonna put this on the bottom, this on top, and then I'm gonna try to find my Sudden Storms to go on the offense. Traveler's Amulet is fine. And it's time for the Starfish. Could also play the Golden Hind. No, that just dies too easily. I'm not using the Starfish this turn because it does constitute a blocker that might be relevant on this board. I can just use it twice each turn with the help of Kira's follower, so if it survives and the game continues, then I'm fine and there's no need to be overly aggressive with scrying. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. That's not great. Yeah, somehow I think that just kills me outright. So maybe I should have scryed in the upkeep. It still wouldn't have been great because I would have then had to deal with the Whitewater Naiads forever. Alright, yeah, that does show me a bit more of my opponent's deck, but it does mean that I'm just dead here. The unblockability of Whitewater Naiads, of course, Sudden Storm. I think I would have still been dead. Against the two enchantments, I would lose the Kira's follower, and I would be forced to tap down two creatures, and every every creature after that would have also been lethal, but it would have clearly been better to be still alive, although my outs were not all that great in that spot. I'm bringing in a null. That should be really good against my opponent's enchantments, and I should probably cut some of my 1 toughness creatures. Desecration Plague to deal with the what's it called? To deal with the Doomwake Giant. Maybe Deserter's Quarters. I think that could be a card I want in this matchup. So which cards just die to Doomwake Giant? I think that's already it. So I'm already pretty well set up against the Doomwake Giant. I just need to make sure that I have as little creatures that immediately die to it as possible. I could actually see just taking all of them out and then being quite safe from the Doomwake Giant. Golden Hind is very good in my deck. I will have to say that. Sedge Scorpion is alright. And Vortex Elemental is pretty bad. I can definitely lose the Vortex Elemental. And I could try to run Deserter's Quarters and I'll actually just do that. I think the Doomwake Giant is my opponent's best way of beating me, and that way I will just have no way for him to kill my board, even though I'm losing out on a bit of power. So now I just have to hope that the loss of Golden Hind is not a big problem. Oh, this hand looks fine. I think that Deserter's Quarters might be good. If the game goes as long as the last one did, then the Quarters could mean that I get to tap down a bestowed creature or something large, similarly large. Alright, Bloodcrazed Hoplite against Swordwise Centaur. Swordwise Centaur is rather safe here. I'm not sure if I want to trade. Haven't really seen much from my opponent that he could be doing with the Bloodcrazed Hoplite. I think it's still better to offer the trade here because my opponent might not block. I think he will, but there is a chance that this just gets through. For fear of, for example, Farewell Invocation. And my plan is just going to be to cast this, hopefully draw an island for the Sealog monster, and then I should be doing fine. If either one of my creatures survives, then I can also use Fated Infatuation quite effectively. Not that one, but Sealog monster is the more important card for me anyway. It's kind of the creature that I want to copy also. And from this point on, I just want to draw an island. A forest is also fine. Okay, that would have been a good annul target. Forest isn't great, but I'll take it. So this Deserter's Quarters wants to tap down the White Warden Naiads, and I want to be attacking with the Sealog monster, rather than trying to prevent some damage that I'm probably not preventing anyway. I'm waiting to see what my opponent does here. It's very, very likely that I'm forced to tap the White Warden Naiads, but I could at least hold up a null for as long as possible here. It's kind of bad that if I draw an island, then I can't cast both of my blue spells. And I might actually want to monsterify the Sealog monster as well. Alright, good that I have the annul. So now I can stay on the defensive, which is probably the best idea. Or if I draw a land, then I can try to raise this. I'm not untapping the Quarters. I think it's more likely that I need my lands. Okay, now attacking with this doesn't make any sense. I'll just play my blocker here, keeping open annul, and after my opponent played all his fancy enchantments, 2 5-drop constellation guys. But still, a null could be quite valuable here. If my opponent thinks that he can make something unblockable and shrink my creatures and so on. Or instead play these kind of guys. Curious Dismissal, that's a huge draw. That's actually going to be fun. I still have some work to do here, but bouncing the 2/5 drops could come in really handy. Now I would love to have more islands in my deck, clearly, as I'm not really developing my board here. Weight of the Underworld. It's also an enchantment, making something unblockable with Whitewater Naiads. I would want to use the Dismissal on both of these and then annul one of them. But I think annulling here is just a good tempo play, rather than allowing my best creature to shrink down. And my opponent would also get the triggers, which I don't want. Okay, I'm just taking things slowly here. If I draw a land, I have the option to monstrous, the Sealock monster. And here I have to pass again, with the plan to just sudden storm something if my opponent makes something unblockable. Okay, so now I can sudden storm the Chosen and the Doombreak Giant. I could also play this super aggressively, already bouncing something that my opponent has here, but I think this is better. And I could actually draw, yeah, I'll draw the island. The island is the card that I want for Faded Infatuation, so that's definitely something that I want. Roger Hug is a pretty good blocker for Anthausa. I'm not going to attack with it. I don't think that I can cast any of my spells here because of the risk of Retraction Helix, which my opponent has already shown me. So now I think I just activate this. It's safer than casting Faded Infaturation still. And another island, not the greatest card. I don't want to copy Anthausa because I don't want to have two legends on my side of the battlefield. The problem is that these guys are all untapping, but then I'm just casting a huge Chaos Dismissal and then untapping the Deserter's Quarters, which I could have done this turn already, and then tap down the Rotted Hulk. That might have been a bit better. I don't think that Rotted Hulk is going to chump block, so I can keep back the Anthausa just as well. Alright, so far so good. Now my opponent definitely doesn't have something to deal with the Sealock monster this turn. For that reason I'm gonna resolve this spell while I can. And that's some pretty sweet spells as well. Fleet Feather, Cockatrice and Divination. Actually not sure. Well, the Cockatrice looks superb, of course. Not sure if I want to draw the Divination, but I could draw it after the Cockatrice. There aren't many cards that are better than that. Yeah, I'll just leave these on top then. And we'll let my opponent try to do something sweet here. Siren of the Fang Coast once again. Alright, it will become a 4/4. Now I can untap this, which I do want, but I also kind of want to just go crazy with the Fleet Feather Cockatrice. We'll have 5 mana to cast it, so then I leave open the mana to... Yeah, I have so many good options here. I could just tap down the Pharika's Chosen and start attacking, but then I would also want to bounce the Doombreak Giant first, or monsterify this, which I don't have the option to yet. So I'm going to play this a bit more defensively. waiting this turn, pretending that I'm not doing anything of relevance. Beginning of combat, I could just tap down the Siren of the Fang Coast. If my plan is to win in the air, not taking any damage in the air is definitely a good idea. So I am playing a bit more controlling, which might not surprise you if you know my style. And now I even have Nature's Panoply to target Anthausa, which might actually be lethal starting, well, next turn already. If I want to go for it, I don't have to, of course. Opponent drawn some more lands, so that's good. Let's see if that resolves here. Yeah, it does. Opponent also doesn't seem to have anything. Just ignoring the Freaker's Chosen at this point. Alright. I'm keeping up my Nature's Panoply and the Kuro's Dismissal. It might have been better to keep up double blue here, but as I said, I think I'm doing fine here. I didn't have to Monsterify, but I'm just trying to win this game quickly because I only have 8 minutes left. And as I said, I think that there is pretty much nothing that my opponent can do. Alright. There's an attack for 6. Opponent is thinking, so it could be Retraction Helix. No, it goes down to 4. I will just not play my Nestian Asp, I think. I also don't necessarily want to show that I have the Kuro's Dismissal. Might be necessary though. Wow. Destroy all non-enchantment creatures. That's good. That's good. I have the Deserter's Quarters though, so that's something. It does hit me pretty hard though. Okay, this only targets creatures I control. Otherwise, I would have thought about destroying some of my opponent's lands. Yeah, this is tough. I have the Nestian Asp and the Deserter's Quarters, so I think I will be fine. But still, this is one of the few cards that actually do get me here. Yep. My opponent shouldn't be able to recast any of these, but might play something else, of course. Bloodtor Harpy, that's actually good, I think. Now I'll just play this Nestian Asp. If Nestian Asp dies here, I think I've lost the game. Okay, that was to be expected. And if my opponent plays the Doomwing Giant, then I just force a chump block. Curse of the Tides. So I still force a chump block, and Retraction Helix is not an option for my opponent. Being on 3, he just needs to block Nestian Asp, can't double block because otherwise I'm monstrous. So I can just attack, but I could decide which creature I want to force to chump block, and that it would make more sense to force the Whitewater Naiads to chump block, so I'm tapping down the Curse of the Tides. I also want to tap down something anyway. And then next turn I'm untapping the Quarters and tap down the giant thing. So, or I'm threatening to tap down the giant thing, so my opponent is probably forced to hold back the harpy to block with. Alright. Could have untapped this to tap down the Doombreak Giant, but I wanted to also have the mana to monsterify the Nessian Asp. I think that's actually better. And the difference between 3 and 4 shouldn't be great. Oh, okay, my opponent could also have the Retraction Helix now. I'll see if that's the case. But I have more than 12 mana, so I can actually monsterify. Okay, just a chump block, hopefully. That's good, that was important. Now I think I'm not losing to Retraction Helix, but we'll see. I will play around Retraction Helix though, by not tapping the Doombreak Giant aggressively here. If it chump blocks, I'm very certainly winning this game, so... Alright, good. 5 minutes left, 5 minutes 30. And these other scorers did a superb job there. I wasn't really close to dying, but it was a bit more scary than I would have liked. Alright, I think I'll leave it like this. I just have to play around Extinguish All Hope, which I didn't do a good job of. As you could tell, I was almost dying to that. But otherwise, I like the sideboarding, and I like the fact that I could basically ignore the giant. Don't know about my opponent's hand, but mine is pretty sweet. With a turn 2 Starfish, I can draw into lands 4 and 5. And then I also have the quarters for the late game. Yeah, I kind of like this hand. 5 minutes 30, so it's gonna be a bit of a racing mode here. Probably won't be tapping out to pause the recording far too often, because that always costs me a bit of time. Alright, let's get this going. Now I can actually start putting lands on the bottom already. I'm quite likely to find what I need here. I hope that the Starfish survives. That would be a good start to this game. Could actually suit it up with Ordeal of Nylea. I think it's better to just scry though. If I wanted to really get aggressive here, it would definitely be an option to just do that. Giving the Starfish a bit more to do effectively. And I can use all the lands. I might actually put the Ordeal on there, also because of the time issues. I don't think it's a much worse play, and if my opponent has a removal spell, I can probably expect him to cast it immediately. On the other hand, the Ordeal, maybe I should have just taken it out. It doesn't seem like a card that I would want in this matchup very often. We'll see. Blood Troll Harpy, alright. So, this is the decision point. I think it's time to Ordeal it up. Let's just do that. Time for the beats. I am getting punished by the -X spell. That just kills the Starfish immediately. Otherwise, I think this is going to be a fine line to take. Griptide or something like that is not a big concern. And I have a Cloaked Siren of my own to deal with. To deal with what my opponent is up to here. I'm also going to try to Cloaked Siren. I'm not gonna try to Sudden Storm this early. Alright, my opponent with the Sudden Storm. That's fair. I'm just gonna try to Nessian Asp then. The aggressive Sudden Storm usually not as good. Griptide. I'm taking another 5. Okay. Going down to 7, but I'm still very much in this game. Of course, I'm now going to play around another removal spell that would deal with the Asp, keeping back the Siren to block here. Now I have a 3/6 Starfish that's threatening my opponent. I have the better late game with the Sudden Storm of my own. And I'm still on a healthy life total. What I don't have is protection from Extinguish All Hopes. That would still get me pretty good. Nature's Panoply. So if the Starfish gets blocked, I get to produce a pretty sweet, I wouldn't call it blowout, but still a pretty good line there. I don't want to expose Sealog Monster to Extinguish All Hopes. And I want to kind of cast Sudden Storm if nothing else happens. So I'm gonna be very aggressive here. Grim Guardian doesn't block. Okay, that could actually mean that there is something up. But the question is, how do I beat Extinguish All Hopes? I could pump up Nessian Asp. That deals 10. My opponent goes to 3, but then I need my creatures to survive, otherwise I'm not really doing anything. I also want to Sudden Storm really badly, so if I'm putting my opponent on not having Extinguish All Hopes, then it's probably best to Nature's Panoply here and to Sudden Storm. I'll just do that. Alright, I hope that this works out. Land could mean Extinguish All Hopes, of course. Counterspell would kill me. I should probably have upkeep that. Land would be land number 8. I don't think that's what I want. Now in theory the defensive Sudden Storm should be a lot better than the aggressive one that my opponent played, because I'm taking my my opponent's creatures out for 2 turns in a row, whereas my opponent only has had them tapped for 1 turn. Well, not really. I don't know. I guess it doesn't make a big difference. I don't know what's coming, but I have the Deserter's Quarters, so I might have lethal by tapping down something. A Rotted Hulk, alright. So the Starfish is most likely not doing anything, but I don't have to use it here. I think it's better to just have it available. And now my Nessian Asp forces a chump block. Or maybe not a chump block, just a block. So now Extinguish All Hopes probably kills me also because of the time issues. Otherwise I think I'm doing fine here. Alright, that resolves. That will resolve. I'll keep this card. And then I'm still alive. I will be able to not block this, but I don't need to. I drew Kiara's Dismissal. I'm targeting these 2. And then I'm attacking for the win. Alright, yeah, I think I was winning without the Dismissal, even, because of Deserter's Quarters. So, yeah, great game, and great match. Sorry for the time issues. I am not the fastest player, But that happens with the new set and me trying to still explain everything I'm doing. And yeah, this was a pretty sweet matchup, I think. I'm not 100% sure about my sideboarding, but it worked out in the end. And the ordeal probably won me the game on the Sigil Starfish. Pretty sweet line there. All right, time for the finals.